There's a good steady trail along there.
No nega moiga. Bidwegen is kamidina kisen kadmuksia. Munudanoa au samtemen koi.
We're in Wellneg, as we call it, Summerside, and we're looking for eel poles. I'm hoping to find a nice, skinny, short pole for my grandson. Yeah, here's one here. Oh, some tobacco. We kind of want to give back all the time whenever we take something. You know, we're indigenous to this land, and so I gotta give these things respect, even when I make it into a spear. My first spear I made myself, and I didn't have anybody really to teach me how to make a spear. So I had to learn and watch and just pick it all up myself. I'm hoping I can teach the younger generation, and they can go out and select a piece of wood for themselves, take it home, and then begin preparing the piece of wood to make into a pole. And then the coming summer, they can actually take it fishing. Yeah, that's not bad. That's, you know, it makes a difference when it's their spear instead of somebody's spear. It's like a form of initiation, of maybe a rite of passage type thing that, you know, acknowledges them as an individual that can begin securing food for his family, his mother and his brothers and sisters, and then later on when he has his own family. It kind of gives you a feeling of purpose, and you can contribute to your family, and I think that's really important for young kids, young men, young women.
Ei meillä en teteelkissä noktiskaa se siist. Bidwimtel naanik mukaan. Huelkisi asuhtiegubnek. La tilginaamuksiegub amitspa mauja pokona maruhtieg. Mugilan kidelsi untamk. Han kidelem tikigma. Akigma la vuulti judank. Neebadun koi. Maspa debigedu. Maspa esmejik taawani mudebas khamadi negmo. Atukulidino. So, moi mugua onaga delwisida kuidamewino. Kes nadawik tanteged. Ama chamsir wenengin udamasid. Wemen takoila kijina mamigo kisigarulk.
Let's try it here. Good as place as any. I've been teaching my grandkids how to hunt and fish from the land. The other day I took them eel fishing for the first time. On our way out, Chuck asked me, "Grampy, how many eels are we allowed to take?" It seems like a simple question, but the answer may not be so simple. Canadian law says Mi'kmaq people have a right to fish for food, ceremony, and social, and we have rights to fish commercially. But we Mi'kmaq have our own laws about fishing, so how do I answer Chuck's question? How do I teach my grandchildren about their ancestral connections to this land? And how do I guide them in sustaining these resources for the future generations? You stick the spear in mud like that, okay? You walk around the hole, you keep sticking it in the mud, and you'll hit the eel, you'll feel it down there, okay? And then go like that. And take little steps like that, little wee steps. Yeah, haul it out. Yeah, little steps, go around the hole. Showing Chuck how to fish is the easy part, but helping him understand his rights and his responsibilities as an Indigenous person to all living things on this land, well, that's not so simple. A good place to start would be looking at something we call Netukulimk.
Netukulimk was goed moe. De labokuek. Achteladigek. Magisi auch samik tanto goi. Magisi ukte medem goi. Akatte mamispa negemoja. Dan kisteli abaji godo. Dan kistel siewi godo. Ach mispa akatte. Nijink, nujij, Ahpid winu jiji. Asma desi no dari da. Hey, mo kude kis kude desi no dai.
It's small. Can we put it back?
If you want.
Because it's too small. Can't say I like to live. Huh? Frozen.
Here, guys. I'm gonna do it gently so he doesn't.
Catch it down for the eagle wing.
Mud.
Chijami ji na chimel gi ginari da. Madak tiki gap kogo manari mudi ji. Is really good. Ne kiti ko rajip ti chuji wise.
I'm not going close.
See, there's eels here.
Lege mo kap egin ure mo.
Yeah.
Karo amish pa jikse de magwen. Achtebol jikse de magwen. Nimido de kinaman newel. Akis weutig.
If you put it over there, you watch that eagle might grab it. There's a nest in that pine tree, see it? Yeah, I always try to put an eel out there to feed those eagles because it's a rough time of year for them. Okay, throw it. Here he comes. Look at it. Watch him. Look at him. Look at the eagle. Look. See that? Did you see him get it?
You got it.
You fed the eagle.
We need
As soon as you threw it, he flew down. Yeah. Are you going to be able to carry that now?
Yeah?
Did you have a good day? Yeah? Well, maybe you'll catch an eel next time. Passing on our knowledge and fishing traditions is easy, but it's difficult to exercise our rights when our resources are overexploited by others. That day we only caught enough to provide a small meal.
Man, that looks good. You want a little piece?
Isn't that something?
You're gonna have to have some juice. This juice is really good for you.
You never had it before.
This is your first time having it.
Tell your grandfather or great-grandfather what you did with one of the eels.
I gave it to a hawk. An eagle.
And we seen two eagles sitting on the trees by the shore.
Yeah.
So I told him, you go out there with that eel, and when you get about halfway, throw it.
You can swoop it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, he come right down and he picked it up and off he went to his nest with it. In the 1700s, our ancestors negotiated treaties with the British. Treaties that allowed them to live here in peace and friendship, as long as they respected Mi'kmaq rights to continue our way of life based on Netukulimk. But we had to fight hard to get those treaties respected. Tom, he got charged for fishing salmon out of season, and geez, that court case took a while, didn't it?
It took quite a while.
Yeah, your grandpa, he got charged for fishing salmon. I was in council then, and Union and Nova Scotia Indians come down.
Yeah.
And they were talking to me, and they asked me, what should we do with this case? Should we fight it? I said, yeah, I think you should fight this case and help support Tom because we want to, we want to get some recognition of our rights. You're a Mi'kmaq like us, and you have rights to this land. You have rights to make a living from it. You have rights to get food from it. And they can't bother those rights. So, though they wouldn't recognize it, we had to break the law, their law, in order to fight for our law. And that's what your great-grandfather did. He said, no, I'm going to break this law, your law, because I believe I have my own law.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's the way you have to fight for your rights. And there's only certain people that do that. Tom Silvo isn't the only one who has gone to court and fought to have our treaty rights recognized. People like Isaac, Gabriel Silliboy, and Matthew Simon, and the most famous person, the late Donald Marshall Jr., the same person who spent 11 years in prison for a murder he didn't commit.
When I first met Donald Marshall, it was in Halifax in 1991, not long after the release of the Royal Commission report into his wrongful conviction. And from about the first moment I met him, he said, I want to go home and I want to go fishing eels. And I said, well, okay. That sounded like an adventure. He loved fishing. Fishing was his passion. It was a place where he could escape all of the notoriety of the wrongful conviction, the pressures that all of that media attention and publicity really weighed quite heavily on him. And he was generally a private man and wanted to embrace what it meant for him to be Mi'kmaq. And part of that was the ability to go fishing. The elders loved the eels, and not too many young people were fishing them anymore. He would spend back-breaking hours over the sink, cleaning the eels and making them beautiful. And then he would take them to the elders. And that was the best part of it all for him, because he got to see their joy, and then they would tell him stories. And I think that was probably where he got the best sense of peace after such a tumultuous life. So we had been fishing down here for about a week, and we had some good catch. And on that particular day, it was a day, the light was a little bit similar to this, except maybe a little more sparkly, and the water was reflecting, and there was a light breeze like there is today. And we were out over there on the boat. Our nets had been set over in that estuary where the grass is good and the bottom is nice and muddy. We saw a boat approaching us. We could see that they had uniforms on, and then we kind of went, oh, I wonder what they want. They came over and they said, can I see your fishing license? And JR says, I don't need a license. I've got a treaty. And the DFO officer says, well, I don't know anything about a treaty. I need to see your license. Well, we don't have a license.
We fought the Marshall case all the way to the Supreme Court of Canada. In 1999, the Mi'kmaq won a huge victory. The courts acknowledged the treaty right to earn a moderate livelihood from commercial fishing. But we're still fighting to have that ruling implemented. For us to manage our own livelihood fishery, grounded in Netukulimk.
The Mi'kmaq really didn't ever get full control over the resources. They were still mandated. The DFO still imposed their regulations, and that caused a lot of bad feeling. And it, just made it clear that this wasn't a moment of decolonization, that this was just another way of oppressing and controlling and regulating and ultimately criminalizing people, even though there was a Supreme Court recognition of the right.
It gave us a right to make a moderate livelihood, and yet we're trying to define what a moderate livelihood is. And it stated that we couldn't accumulate wealth, and, but in essence, every other company and organization that's using the resources of this land is accumulating vast amounts of wealth. And here we are trying to, make a moderate livelihood out of what's left.
I guess the part of the fishing traditions I'm trying to pass down to my grandsons is the knowledge about our struggle, not just to protect our rights, but to exercise them.
One of these days you're going to have to make one of these. It's black spruce tree. It's probably one of the better woods to use. It's strong and it grows in the swamp, so the water don't rot it out so fast. And you look for the trees where they all grow close together, because when trees grow close together, they're racing up for the sun, and they'll grow straight. You guys don't play around there.
Ani aga jigawigela, paskodi mani anais, kuidamaran. Taan kistili weuftes nini kinamad newe kisi benegana muksiak. Pama nega yopset koi kisiu ido kudai taan tezi kei kisku. Mudet parode mukla kuidamaran kino mega mawi. Magis makor muksaliawi.
Question for you.
Go ahead.
When's the first time you ever went viewing?
I think I was about 8 years old.
Wow.
I went down the beach. That's when your grandpa was down there. Your great-grandfather was down there. And look at that. And there was about 3 families down there. All of us kids were down there and we're playing around, and all the big guys were out there fishing eels. The little kids were digging clams.
So back then, no one really cared what they ate. They just.
Well, no, they ate what they found on the land and in the water. Of course, they always ate that.
Well, now everyone eats what they find in the markets.
That's right. What they find in the market, the free market.
And now the reason why they're all pricing is because they're running out of it.
Running out of it.
No.
You're right, they're running out of stuff fast.
If people are eating what they're not supposed to.
Maybe that's why we've got to start learning to do this.
Yeah.
Maybe we won't be able to buy fish. We'll have to go get it ourselves.
Yeah.
So you'll know how to go in the woods, get a pole, bring it home, shave it down. Then I'll teach you how to make a spear, put it on the spear, and then you'll know where to go fish. Then you turn it around, okay? Remember, you gotta hold with these. Don't go down too deep, just like, and go on the side like that. I guess when you're indigenous to land and you live in a geographic area for thousands of years, and we become a part of these trees, we become a part of the fish. You know, a part of us, our ancestors were caught in that nutrient cycle. You know, we're a part of that creation because it's forever happening. It's, you know, creation never ends. And we're still connected to it. Even after, you know, all the various attempts of assimilation that we had to go through. You know, the introduction of Catholicism and the residential school, and even though people try to assimilate us or, you know, change us, you can never say we're not connected to this land. You can never disconnect us. And that's where, you know, our basis of responsibility to all things that are here and knowing our place here. That's how you build your whole policies and laws and value system upon that. There's Neil right there. Look, just right there.
La gisku puol tahoi wessavidai. Agala siewi puol tahoi ja kisaluksi janki deemnen wa weemenen. To agala siewi janki daasuan. Mugistelne midula, mugistelne mialla kijinal maamiga, kuri kinudan telne miu. Ahtaan telisulti kisikinamuksi kuva. Ula sithamu mi magic. Ancha mena delordemen, teptigodemen, kemmi dedemen. Ahhaispa igademen, igata anchula igademen.
Do you want to come and trim these fins? Okay.
So use scissors?
Yeah, you gotta cut this off. See those?
Huh?
You go up along like that.
Like
Yeah,
this
you
one.
just hold them like that and you just right along the top. Make sure you get it all. Stuff to fall off into the stew. When Marshall first come down and said we had a right, you know, I really looked at it as great.
Okay.
Now the Mi'kmaq have a right, just like the federal government has a right to, I guess, regulate access to a resource. Now the Mi'kmaq have a right, treaty right to resources. And with that right comes the same kind of regulatory powers as the federal government has. And I thought that's what the right we carried and won, so that we could, you know, implement our treaty rights the way we see fit, and we could regulate it, and we could manage our share of the fishery.
I remain very optimistic that the Mi'kmaq Nation is undergoing a very wonderful process of revitalization. It's exploring the utility of concepts like Netukulimk to help manage and rebuild their nations. And the legacy of Marshall is just going to continue to grow and grow and grow.
Netukulimk is something I'm trying to understand or come to terms with myself, because I have things I want, and I, you know, use resources in a certain way, and I have to come to terms with how I use them, you know, and am I doing it in a sustainable way? Is it just for me? Is it for my kids? Or is it for things that I don't really need? And I'm hoping that, when we get our act together and begin moving in a very strong economic way, and if we do get broader access to resources, that we don't go down a path that was well traveled and look at the economic and business models that are over exploiting resources, and that we can do it in a more sustainable way with a culture and spiritual connection to it and responsibility.
Hey,